This offseason, how have I spent this offseason? I think when I think about that, first thing I think about is July, because the only time that we have anything off as coaches is end of June and July. And my family and I went on a family vacation there for about a week in July, and then I got to enjoy what my mother started about 13 years ago, and she's so proud of. She calls it Julymas. Julymas is Christmas in July. And because we have bowl games as coaches, we don't get to kind of celebrate Christmas as a family. So we bring my brother's family, my sister's family, my parents, 8 grandchildren, all under one roof for 3 to 4 days. And my parents absolutely love it. I don't know that my wife always does, but my family really enjoys it, and we get to have a good time. I also got to spend 5 days in the SEC footprint in Mississippi. Travel baseball dad, which is fun and exhilarating, but my wife wants to go to Italy and the Amalfi Coast, and instead we spent it in Mississippi for 5 days in South Haven. And I enjoyed every minute of that, and getting to be a travel baseball dad's something I enjoy. But our staff, our team, our university, our entire Dog Nation went through one of the highest of highs in January, which was to win back-to-back CFP championships, which had never been done. We then endured the loss of 2 dear family members, Devin Willick and Chandler LaCroix. We love them and we miss them. So many people have stepped up for our players within our organization during this time of need. One of the toughest things I've ever been through as a coach was to experience that. But some of the leadership that really helped us, we have a rising star in our athletic department in Doris Griffin. She's been there for me, our players, and so many others during these tough times. She's our senior deputy director of athletics and the sport facilitator for football. Thomas Settles, our team chaplain. What an incredible asset he has been for both our players, our coaches, and people in our organization. You know, a tragedy can either divide or unite us. I'm proud of our players. It has definitely brought them closer together and united our team and our family. So a while back, I was sent something I thought was pretty unique. And I was actually at my desk the other day combing through some things, and it literally hit me right between the eyes as I looked at it. It's a Post-it note that was posted. I'd gotten this probably a couple years ago, and it was posted behind my seat at my desk. And I think anyone can tell you the benefits of great leaders. Anybody can tell you what it looks like. They can tell you what leadership can do for you. They can tell you how to develop leadership. There's tons of books written on great leaders and leadership. But you won't see, and what you will never see, is people talk about the costs of leadership and costs associated with leadership, I should say. If we truly want to be honest and upfront about leadership, you can't ignore the cost of leadership. Great leaders are willing to accept those costs. And I want to share quickly 3 of those things. 3 of the costs that are plastered on my desk right behind it that kind of caught me between the eyes last week. Number 1, you will have to make hard decisions that negatively affect people you care about. Number 2, you will be disliked despite your best attempt to do the best for the most. And number 3, you will be misunderstood and won't always have the opportunity to defend yourself. Those are 3 costs that come from being a great leader. And the reason I share these 3 costs are exactly what the 3 players we brought from UGA represent. They don't fear those costs. That's the reason we decided to bring them. They accept those costs and they embrace those costs, and it's not hard for them to see the benefit of those costs as leaders of our team. I want to talk real quick about those guys. Brock Bowers, junior tight end from Napa, California. We all know about his phenomenal athleticism. He's got a 3.45 GPA in finance. I remind him constantly that's 5.05 right behind where I was as a finance major at Georgia. So it's the only thing I've been able to beat Brock at. But Brock is unique. He's easily the quietest, hardest worker I've ever been around. And it's such a joy to bring him today because see him squirm on that plane and be uncomfortable and think about having to talk to you guys. I'm so excited to see his growth he gets from visiting with you guys and getting to enjoy it. But I wanted to kind of share a quick story on Brock that I think epitomizes who he is. So our all-season conditioning program, we have these things called boxes. It's part of our program. We do run in boxes. You got to run down one side of the field, and then you jog across the end zone, and then you got to run, sprint the other side. So one day, I don't think these tight ends would claim for this to be true, but one day our younger tight ends had decided that they were going to finally get Brock. They were going to beat Brock on the boxes. So they took turns, which you're not supposed to do, running as fast as possible down the straightaway, the 100 yards you run down the straightaway. And they were going to eventually beat Brock because while one of them was sprinting, one of the others would be resting, and they had to try to beat Brock. Well, not only did Brock win every one of those races, he beat every single one of them turn by turn by turn while they rested and waited up, and they just couldn't beat the old vet. And it just shows his work ethic and how hard he competes at everything he does and does it with silence. Next guy I'll bring up is Kamari Lassiter. Kamari Lassiter is a junior corner for us who I have tremendous respect for. He is a 2.7 GPA sports management major. And I'll say this about both Kamari and Brock Bowers. They are what we call COVID babies. They came in during the COVID class. And I shared this earlier. I think it's very unique to our place. We signed 20 high school players the COVID year. 17 of those 20 are still in our program. That's hard to find anywhere in the country. They didn't get to go on visits. They didn't get to go on official visits. These guys are the core leadership group of our team, that's 17 of 20, which would be a junior class if they weren't redshirted. But Kamari's part of that class too. Kamari's got a great personality. He loves competition. He's fierce. He's a great tackler. I mean, this guy must have sent us 800 videos of himself during COVID because he wanted to prove he was worthy of a Georgia scholarship, and he earned that. Something else I'll share on Kamari that I think is unique, I sat in his skull session because I move around when we have these meetings, and he was talking about his why. And it really kind of hit me in the heart, man. It hit me right in the gut when he talked about his mom, Miss Cammie, and how much she sacrificed so that he could go to the best high school, private school, and get the best education, how many jobs she worked, how she slept on the couch at his auntie's house, an incredible job that Kamari did, explaining this, making himself vulnerable to the rest of our team and our players. I just love Kamari and everything he stands for and how he practices and how he leads our team. Then the last guy would be Cedric Van Pran, senior center in New Orleans. He is an art and design major. And he wanted me to emphasize that to you guys. That's extremely unique. He's very talented. Ask him to draw something, he can do it. 3.26 GPA. He decided to return for his senior season because he wants to be the best at his position, and he loves his school. I mean, at the end of the day, this guy loves Georgia. Quick story on set I've never told anybody. We were at SoFi having the first practice for TCU. I was frustrated. I was on the mic. We weren't practicing well. We had a little bit of maybe jet lag. I felt like we weren't practicing good. And I said on the mic, you're practicing like you don't want to be here. Nobody here is practicing like they want to be here. And then after practice, of course, I'd forgotten I said it an hour earlier. I walked by and Cedric tapped me on the shoulder and said, Coach Smart, you really hurt my feelings when you said that I didn't want to practice and didn't want to be here. And I thought, this dude is serious, and he remembers everything you say, and it matters to him. He cares about this team a lot, and it means a lot to him, and he's one of the best leaders I've ever been around.